All right, Mr. Jon Gordon, welcome to the Happy Hustle Podcast, my brother. I am super excited to have you on.
Kerry, great to be with you.
Yeah, man. Seriously, I got to tell you, and I told you in the pre-interview chat, I'm fanboying over here a little bit because I've been reading your books and just inspired by your work for so many years. And I'm just honored to communicate with you and share your love, your light, your wisdom with the Happy Hustlers. I mean, you're a 12 times best-selling author. You've actually wrote 24 books, and you're an international keynote speaker and so many other things. And I'm excited to dive into specifically your new book, The Sale, which I read and loved, which is all about integrity. But before we get into all that good stuff, Jon, what is something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
Well, Kerry, first off, thanks for reading the books. You and your brother, the fact that you read them when you were younger just says how old I am, but also really cool because when I wrote those books, I wanted to reach people at any age. But the cool thing is now people, when they were 18, 20 years old, they're now in their 30s and they read my books way back when. And now they're entrepreneurs. They're building companies. They're doing great work like you're doing. So it's so cool to see that impact. I used to speak to so many different colleges and work with all these different college athletic programs. Now these Notre Dame softball players are now leaders of companies, and they're coming up to me saying, you spoke to my school and now I'm, an executive here, or I started this company and I'm doing that. I worked with, Texas and Clemson and you name it. And it's so cool to see, again, all these young leaders rise up, but it makes me laugh because I don't feel old, but yet I'm like, wow, I was young doing this. I was the young guy doing this. Now I'm the older guy, and all these younger people are coming up. But what I said was I was preparing for my future because now all these future CEOs are going to be bringing me in when I'm 70. So I'll be 70 years old in like 20 years, right? So they can now bring me in as their top CEOs in their 40s and 50s. So that would be really cool. But what is interesting about me, a couple of things. One, my dad was a New York City police officer, undercover narcotics. So I think that's interesting. People often think I'm a white collar guy, right? But actually I grew up in a blue collar family. So I have that blue collar blood and background of work ethic and drive and integrity and doing things the right way. So that's a big part of my upbringing. What also may be interesting is that I played lacrosse at Cornell University. So I was a Division I athlete. People don't know that or don't think of me like that. So if we're playing a sport like today, I played pickleball with a couple of 30-year-olds and I dominated them. Boom. And I said, you know what, like that, they're like, where is the energy coming from? I'm like, because I think I'm 30 years old still. And so I'm also competitive. So when we're playing a sport, I definitely am competing at a high level. My good friend, Erwin McManus, who's a big time pastor, famous pastor, he and I will compete like crazy. He's older than me. He's 63 and we'll battle in basketball or pickleball. So love to compete. Ed Milet and I haven't played pickleball yet, but I'm looking forward to that showdown in the future.
I love it, man. That is so awesome. I mean, yeah, I'm an athlete myself. I grew up played soccer in college, played a little semi-pro, blew out my knee. There went my career. But and I also, come from a blue collar family, got the blue collar blood in me. My dad is not a cop, he was a mechanic, but still, it's really awesome to hear your roots and how it comes full circle. And that leads us to, you mentioned integrity. And I do want to, start with The Sale because this is such a phenomenal book. You call it the #1 strategy to build trust and create success. And you're referencing integrity. Talk to us a little bit about the inspiration behind The Sale and, who's it for?
The cool part about this book is Alex Demchek is my co-author.
Yep.
Alex is 29 years old.
Wow.
Alex was a quarterback at Mizzou and had read my books at Mizzou based on his coach's recommendations. And so he started following me. I started mentoring him as a 22-year-old, 23-year-old. And so been speaking into his life. He then wanted to do this work. He starts doing a lot of talks and speeches. And I have a series of events in the Northeast for the Northeast Athletic Conference where they need a speaker. They did not have my budget, right, at all. But I said, Alex, do you want to do this? Because it's 13 schools back to back.
Oh, wow.
Every day. It's a lot of work, but it'll be a great experience. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And he took it on. He was willing to do the work. And he did a great job. They loved the message. He spoke on the power of positive leadership, my book, and those principles was incredible. And after that, you go, okay, I believe in this guy. I trust this guy. He was living the principles of this book. Well, he came up with the idea for the sale. So it was his idea.
Oh, wow.
And he said, Jon, would you do this book with me? It's about this, young guy in his 30s. He's got a family, but he lacks integrity. And his grandfather owns the company, and he has this job basically because of his grandfather. And no one really likes him. No one really trusts him. And yet he's got all this potential in the world, but he's just not living with integrity. And then he's got this opportunity to have a $7 million sale if he falsifies a report in order to get the sale. So will he falsify the report to get the sale? Well, around that same point, he meets an unlikely teacher who starts teaching him about the principles of integrity and how integrity truly is the number one key and factor in success. It builds trust, which then leads to success. So the book is all about integrity, the 4 laws of integrity, and how we need to live with that, and how it also helps us create our success for the future. Like, as you know, it's not an overnight success. How do you become an overnight success? You work really hard for 10 plus years.
Exactly.
And then you become one.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. My journey has been a long journey of doing the right thing, the right way. 1 million decisions with integrity over time leads to your success and your future. You invest in the root if you want the fruit. Focus on the fruit of the tree, which so many people do today. I want to make my quick buck. I want to get an NFT launch, make my money on the drop, and then walk away. I want to sell a bunch of products and then walk away. So they're looking for the quick fix, the quick buck. They see the success on Instagram, on social media. But then look at the headlines. And you look at the news headlines and you see CEOs and leaders who are making bad decisions all the time. We see people lying to us who are leaders. And as you are lied to, as you see leaders fall from their platforms, from their high horses, you see them fall from the decisions they make. And the ripple effect affects their business, it affects their community, affects their family, it affects their life and their future. But integrity is the antithesis of that. Integrity is doing things the right way. It's making sure that you're aligned. What you do and what you say are totally aligned. And when you are someone who lives with integrity, people can trust you. When they can trust you, they want to follow you. And as a result of that, whether it's in sales or leadership or as a podcaster or as someone who writes books, which you wrote your book, people begin to trust you. And when that happens, right, you have a responsibility to maintain that trust that they have placed in you. You have an obligation to live up to that and be that kind of person. And when you are, that trust continues to build and grow and allows you to then grow as a person, as an influencer, and also in success with your business. And so when people trust you, you come out with a new product, they're going to want to buy your product. You come out with a new launch or a new book, they're going to want to read your book. And that happens through integrity. And again, it's not overnight, but it's making sure that you're doing things the right way over time. And that's why it's such a huge factor in success. So I think we have this myth where we look at social media, we look at what's happening in the world, and we think, oh, I have to knock someone down to lift myself up. Oh, I have to, make sure I do whatever it takes, even if it's fraudulent, even if it's something that doesn't have integrity tied to it. I still have to do it because I have to make my money. But what I'm here to say is when you do things the right way, this book says you will have lasting success and you will have a reputation and you will have trust. So long answer, Kerry, but something cool really happened to me recently. I was in Minneapolis about to go to Iowa for an engagement and my plane is delayed big time in Minneapolis. Thunderstorms, we're stuck on the tarmac for 2 hours. And I don't know if I'm going to be stuck in Minneapolis, but I got to get to Iowa because I have a 9 a.m. talk the next day. And I can't miss that talk. I look at the map, 4.5 hours away to drive. Okay. Somehow, some way I've got to get there. But all the rental cars are closed. No car services are available at that time at night. So I tweet out, hey, does anyone want to give me a ride? from Minneapolis to
awesome.
Iowa. I'm happy to pay. I'm happy to pay. All these people all of a sudden on Twitter start saying, yes, I will drive you. I will drive you. One guy says, yes, I'll drive you, but I want to pick your brain the entire way. I'm thinking, I don't know if I want that ride.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be a lot of work of coaching and talking the entire way. But I'm kidding. But I actually offered to Zoom with that guy after it didn't work out because he was so nice. He was willing to do it.
Yeah.
A coach from the Minnesota basketball team, I will drive you. One guy said, you can have my car. I said, I'm not coming back though. I'm not coming back. He said, it's okay. Just keep it. Like, it's hilarious.
What
like,
keep
it. No, I can't keep your car. And the funny thing on that is I was like, but you don't really know me. He's like, yeah, but I read your book. And so I think about that. Like, he read my book, so he trusts me.
Yeah.
And that's a responsibility that I really hold dear in my heart, that when I write something, I don't want to let people down. I want to walk the walk. I need to make sure I'm always talking the talk. I have to do things the right way. And when I say something, I have to deliver on it. And I have to make sure that I keep my promises. And so I really, truly believe that's why I am successful. That's why I've written now 13 books. The Sale became a bestseller. So 13 bestsellers.
My apologies. 13.
13. It's okay. It's okay. It's not a big deal. But it's cool that The Sale became a bestseller. So 13. But I think that's why, and I don't think I'm anything special. I think I'm consistent. I think I show up every day and do the work. And I think I truly care about people and doing this. And I think I'm an example of what the book's trying to talk about. And I was thinking about this the other day, like, people will be able to look at my life over time and say, and I want them to say, oh, when he's 70, that's why he's still thriving. You know, and we're 30s and 40s and 50s, and we're looking to him, just like people look at John Maxwell. Yeah. And they look at that person and he's successful because he did the right thing over time. So just people offering to give me their car and their rides, so generous, so nice. I ultimately was able to get on a flight. My flight did take off. I got it really late, got like 3 hours sleep, still was able to make it to the talk, delivered the talk. But to have those people be generous and kind meant the world to me. But it showed the power of trust and integrity.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Love it. So much gold to unpack there. You said something that really resonated. Invest in the root if you want the fruit. You know, and really it starts with you investing in yourself as a leader, doing what you say you're going to do. My dad was big on that. If you say you're going to do something, you do it, you know, and it's just, I think it's like a lost art these days. It just feels like people are so flaky. It's, you know, and the instant gratification culture, you know, where people are just really, they want that NFT to drop and they want to get that big exit. They don't care who gets burned in the process. You know, it's like, it's a mindset. It's a way of life, having integrity. And I want to transition into the 4 laws of integrity. If you would be so kind to kind of run through those 4 laws of integrity for us and the happy hustlers out there, so we can start to apply them.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of, but I want to back up for a second in terms of that, like that idea that we have to live with integrity. We have to be the person who's doing the right thing, that it is a lost art. Because I think what happens is people don't value the relationship with others. They start to see people as a commodity, not as like an essential person, because so much of life is now on social media. So much of life is online. So we feel like it's really not as important to do the right thing. Like, I may never see you again. But to me, it's like, the stories of meeting someone, doing right by them, and then a year later or 2 years later, you know, you'll see that person again and it comes back to you. But you also see the effort of that. Like, a cool thing on what happened was, as part of this whole getting stuck in Minneapolis, when that happened, one of the guys reached out, and because I had brought up the fact that I got stuck in Chicago once and made my way to Springfield, Illinois on no sleep and gave that talk. And I talk about that experience. And this guy said, yeah, I was at that event. I remember you showing up. So, like, again, he remembers me, you know, at that event on no sleep, finding a way from Chicago to Springfield. And again, it's just one person. And I think people say it's just one person, big deal. But to me, one person is everyone. Yeah. And if you're going to be fraudulent, or you're going to devalue that person, then you're devaluing everyone. If you're going to go against if you're not going to stand for your word and go against your word for that one person, you'll do it for everyone. So to me, one person is everyone, and doing the right thing for everyone is essential. So but law number one is, integrity builds trust. So, that's what we're talking about. The more you live with integrity, the more you build trust. And then people then obviously trust you, and they will then follow you. And so you could be someone with the greatest vision in the world, but if people don't trust you, they will not follow you. You could be like, hey, we're going here. Hey, we got this great project. Hey, we building this great program. Hey, this is my business and I want you to be a part of it. But if they don't truly trust you, they will not follow you.
Yep.
I think about integrity. Think about the story the other day. She lied about the cookie. What does that mean? She lied about the cookie. It's a story we tell as a family. We were over a new friend's house, not an old friend, but a new friend. We had just met them in LA, and we were over there eating, and they invited us to dinner, which was very nice. And she had these amazing ice cream sandwiches with these incredible chocolate chip cookies, the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever had. And they were vegan and gluten-free. And I've never tasted cookies quite like this. So we were asking about the cookies, are these homemade? Did you get them? She goes, no, I made them. Oh, okay, awesome. Like, what are some of the ingredients? Because we've never had anything like this. So she proceeds to talk about, it's this and that and this, and and goes through it. Like, oh, that's interesting. Well, a couple of days later, we're at Erewhon's in LA. I don't know if you've ever been to Erewhon's, but it's
heard of
the
it.
Best store of all time. It's like Whole Foods, on steroids. It's like the best place you've ever been to. It's smaller, but like the gourmet and the quality is amazing. What do we see as a family? My daughter was with us, myself and my wife. Huh? We saw the cookies.
Jeez.
They were the exact cookies. And there they are. And we were like, why did she lie about the cookie?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you lie about the cookie? So after that, we knew we really couldn't trust her. And wouldn't you know it, several things happened in the relationship where she lied, and then there was no more relationship.
Wow.
And you can take it back to she lied about the cookie. And so the cookie was a great example of someone who did not build trust because they did not have integrity. She lied about the cookie. And you lie about the small things, guess what? You're lying about the big things. Just tell the truth.
Yeah.
You could have just said, oh, I got these cookies from so-and-so and they're amazing. And why would she lie?
Exactly. Well, that's such a great point. You have to build the trust. And you said people will follow you, but then they will also buy from you because people will not do business with people who they don't trust. So it's just a really important distinction. What's the second law? I got the book up too.
If you're not happy, but based on that, but if you're, again, I'm a big believer. Again, I know a lot of your listeners are entrepreneurs, right? If you're not happy, I'm going to make you happy, or I'm just going to compensate you and refund your money. We've had people, hey, I don't like this. We didn't, get this out of it. Okay. Refund your money. Just make you happy. No one could say a disparaging word. They might say it without reaching out to us first. But if you reach out to us, we will make sure you're happy. We will make sure that we compensate you. We will do whatever it takes. And I learned that. I used to own a restaurant, Moe's Southwest Grill. It was a franchise. I was the first franchisee. Yeah, I was the first franchisee in Jacksonville, Florida. First one in Florida. Now there's hundreds of Moe's.
Yeah.
So we opened up this Moe's, second mortgage our home, $20,000 in credit cards. And we have a woman that's not happy with the burrito. So I went up to her and I just said, whatever it takes, I want to make you happy. We made her a new one. And then I gave her $50 or $60 in Mo money. We had Mo money. And we gave her some Mo money. Mo money. It was like Monopoly money, but we gave her money, which basically served as gift certificates. And she used those gift certificates and she was so happy from that. Just want to make you happy. Well, wouldn't you know it? Her husband was an executive at CSX. And then he wound up doing a catering for his company for $6,000
Oh my
The
goodness.
cost of what I gave her was probably like $6,
Yep.
but that translated into $6,000. And that's law
Yep.
number 2. Integrity allows for long-term success.
Yep.
We lost some money early on, right, in the transaction, but we gained a loyal customer. And then we wind up getting big business down the road.
Yep.
The other day, I had a speaking engagement with the Final Four and the Women's College Basketball Association.
Oh, wow.
So I was speaking there and speaking to all the coaches, but we had the times messed up of when they had me speak and when I was set to speak. And I had to go from there to Fort Lauderdale to an event where my wife was. And the flight was leaving at 10:40. And so I knew based on the time that they had me speak, I wouldn't be able to make my flight. And it just wasn't going to work out. I could have canceled, but I was trying to get them to actually just start sooner.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, our coaches don't want to get up early. I'm like, these are coaches. Like, you don't want to get up early. Come on, let's go. Yeah. So I was challenging them on that. But I said, let's just do it earlier, a little early. It's a half an hour earlier. I'll speak for just 30 minutes instead of an hour, and we'll do that. And then I said this. You don't have to pay me. Wow. I'll still come. I'll still do the 30 minutes, and I'll make my earlier flight to go see my wife. And they said, okay. That was it. They were happy. They didn't have to pay me. I still did the event, 30 minutes. It was a phenomenal response. I gave a lot of power in that 30 minutes, thank God. And we made an impact. But I had my integrity intact. I made sure that they were happy. And long term, I'll now have a great relationship with them, which will lead to something in the future. Again, integrity leads to long-term success, just like the CSX example and the burritos and the experience as a speaker. So just small examples, but it's how we build long-term success.
No, I love it. I mean, and I just think it's playing the long game. It's investing in the relationships. It's doing the little things. It's adding value first and foremost. There's a lot of takers out there, and you can smell a taker from a mile away. Like the pick your brain guy. No offense, but like I hear that even at my level. I can't imagine how often you hear it. But it's like instead of coming from that mentality, lead with service over self. Lead with how can I add value, and you'll be rewarded long term. So I love that. Let's get to law number 3. Pick your
brain is tough because pick your brain is like, with pick your brain, it's like, have you read any of my books? Because some of the questions that you may have probably are in the books. And if they haven't read your books and are not willing to make the time to do that, should you make the time to, be there and help guide them if they're not willing to do that? Again, I understand people want it quick. They want it easy. They want, as seamless as possible. And there's a lot of people that want to pick your brain. And I love helping people. So it's not like, but you can't do that for everybody who wants to pick your brain, as you know, right? People are always reaching out. Yeah. Best thing you can do to someone is don't say, can I pick your brain? Say, hey, what can I do, for you? Yeah. What can I do to serve you, to help learn from you, to help you grow? And I'd love to learn from you in the process, right?
Exactly.
So that's something where you're providing value, not just taking, you're also giving. I think that's really important. Also, when you're asking something from someone, show that you're going to do something with it, show that you value it, and maybe say, like, we've done this. We wanted to learn more about, corporate consulting, which we're doing more of, and more corporate training, which we're doing a lot of. And we basically reached out to someone who is great with this, and we offered to pay them for their time to do it. I wasn't going to pick their brain, but I'd love to pay you for your time to do it. And that shows that we value them, because I can't expect that person to give me, if they want to give me free advice, great, I'll take it. But I also must offer to pay. And I think that's important too. And if someone offered me to pay for me, I probably still wouldn't do it, because again, I just don't have the time and the bandwidth, to do that. But, I've thought about creating coaching, for instance, that does that. And I admire those that do. But you can't help everyone. But Andy Stanley did say this: help or do for one that which you wish you could do for everyone. So you can't do it for everyone. But that one person, like the one guy who was going to drive me and wanted to pick my brain, you know what? He was, I'm going to do with that guy because I just feel like I should. So when it comes up that way, but the person who's just trying to take, you don't really want to give because they want to take. And I think God is the same way with us. I think God works the same way from an abundance standpoint.
Yeah.
And we're always trying to take from God, and we're not trying to be generous, and we're not giving, but we want to just take. God's like saying, you think I'm going to give to you?
Yeah.
While you're just a taker?
True.
I think when God sees and feels a generous heart from us, God wants to give us abundance. He wants to give us more because he sees the generosity and the abundance that we are giving to others. And I think that's a big part of integrity, of being generous, doing the right thing, giving to others, and that comes back to you as well.
Yep. Preach, brother. Woo. Hot fire. Love it. Law number 3. Let's hear it.
Oh, law number 3. Do you know what it is?
I know what it is.
Integrity equals your best self.
Best self.
And yeah, I've written 26 books, so it's hard for me to remember every single thing in every single book. People are like, hey, Jon, rule 7 of this book. I'm like, I don't remember. It's like,
I hear you. I hear you. No, that's a great law.
You asked me
though.
the rule number 6. Yeah, if you ask me the rule number 6 of the energy bus, I could not tell you what rule number 6 is. It might be no energy vampires allowed, or enthusiasm attracts more passengers and energizes them during the ride, but I can't remember what specifically the number it actually is. First book I wrote in 2007.
Yeah.
My most popular book. Can't tell you though. Integrity equals your best self. When you are living integrity, the great thing about that is you really sleep well at night, and you become your best self by investing in the root of who you are, your character, your soul. And when you become the best version of yourself, like you're feeding yourself, it allows you to be the best for others. And I think that's what's so great about it. Like, you really want to be successful, invest in your character, invest in your heart, invest in your soul. The happy hustle, that's what you're all about, right? Being happy and hustling. And when you are hustling but happy and enjoy and investing in your character, guess what? You're a lot happier. You're more fulfilled. And you'll be more successful in the process. Again, different between success and fulfillment. But I believe, when you are successful doing what you love, and Dr. David Jeremiah says that success is the fulfillment of God's plan for your life. And so when you are living that plan for your life and you're doing it with joy and purpose and passion, you're a lot happier, you're more fulfilled, and success looks differently, but it looks really good to you and your life looks really good. I'm not going to have as much money as some people. I'm not going to have as much, wealth as others. But what I do have, I'm very happy with. And the way I've structured my life and created my life, I'm happy with. And when it gets out of balance, well, I don't believe in balance. I should tell you that. I believe in rhythm.
There you go.
When it's out of rhythm and I'm getting burned out and tired, then I got to make some adjustments. But for the most part, really creating a life that you feel great about may mean you may not make as much money, and you have to be okay with that. It may mean that you make a fortune and you still have a happy life. Each person's different. I just know for me, what it will take for me to get to that, it's not something I'm willing to sacrifice for the quality of life that I do have.
Yeah. Well, and you brought up a really great point. You have to define what success looks like for you. You have to get crystal clarity on your version of it, because if you don't, you're just going to accept society's version. You're going to just start to, you're going to read your story rather than write it and create it. And I'm very intentional about how I live. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur. Like you said, there's going to be people who have more money than me as well, but I don't know if they're going to rival my everyday happiness, and I really focus on the holistic approach to life and happiness and work and, loving relationships and selfless service and all my different framework. It's all equally important in my life. And so I just think it's important to define your version of success. That's amazing, Jon. Let's hear number 4.
But you got to create a life that works for you.
Yep.
And I think that's the key. You got to create a life that works for you, not against you. So you've created success. You're making money. But if you are now a prisoner in your own life, trapped by your schedule, trapped by your demands, trapped by your employees, by your customers, and you don't feel free, that's not the life and success you truly want, right? So begin with the end in mind. What is it that I want to create? What is it that I want to build? What does that look like? What does success look like? I knew I wasn't going to start a training company while my kids were in high school. Now that they're out now that my daughter's 24 years old, she's speaking, by the way, now doing great work. Jade Gordon, check her out. Jade Gordon on Instagram, Jade Gordon 11. She's doing great work. She's 24, making a difference, making an impact. Looking for a great guy for her, by the way. And so he's got to have strong character, strong values.
Yes, he does.
And based on, on the life I wanted, I knew I had to wait till they graduated and were out of the house. Then I was going to start it. So could I have built it earlier, made more money? Yes. But guess what? It's working and flowing perfectly now by doing it the way I'm doing it, and happier in the process, better relationship in the process, great marriage in the process. So make sure it works for you and have the vision you want to build and identify what it looks like. What does it feel like? What are you doing? How are you doing it to have happiness, rhythm, and success at the same time? And it's so funny how this conversation is just flowing based on the laws, because we're not planning this. It's just happening, because law number 4 is integrity frees you to live.
Yes.
Right? We just talked about freedom, right? So the more you have integrity, you then have the freedom to live the way you want to live. I remember being in the restaurant business. I owned a bar in Buckhead when I was 24 years old. I opened up this bar, made it a hot, spot. I'm out there marketing, promoting it. That's how I met my wife. She was walking down the street. No part of me was not was not interested in me. But there was a bar next door with a guy who always had like sweaty armpits. And I know that's gross, but a friend said, you know why he has always sweaty armpits? The guy is stealing from his partners all the time. So he doesn't sleep well at night. And he's always like got an underlying anxiety and nervousness. But when you're doing things the right way, it allows you the freedom to be who you are, to live freely, and to actually go after your dreams and to pursue what you want ultimately in this world without fear that you're going to be found out for doing something wrong. It's in your marriage. If you're doing the right thing in your marriage, guess what? You sleep really well at night if you make sure that you are honoring your wife, being faithful, being trustworthy. Guess what? You don't have to worry about it. You ever wake up in the dream and you did something wrong in your dream and you're like, I can't believe I did that. And it was a nightmare. And you're like, oh, thank God it really didn't happen. How bad did you feel in that dream? Pretty bad. Well, you feel even worse in real life. So it gives you the freedom to be who you're meant to be. Yeah.
And that's such a great point. Like the freedom, like you live without those shackles of having, that guilt and that anxiety and that stress. When you're doing things the right way, you really are you're vibrating at a higher frequency. And I know you're big on frequency and energy and just being the love and light. And I really strive to be the love and light in every situation. And I think I wasn't always this guy. I'll tell you straight up, Jon, I had a darker past and I was doing things the wrong way. And I learned firsthand. I got in trouble, went to jail and had a turnaround, and so now I'm vowed to always live with that integrity. And it really has been such a more freeing way to live. So I'm firsthand proof of, guys, make sure you're living with integrity.
I love that. So guilt and shame are like inflammation of the soul. You have this guilt and shame that you hold on to. It's like inflammation. And guess what? When you have inflammation, the body can't heal itself if you have inflammation. You got to remove the inflammation so the body can heal. And it's the same thing with our soul. If you are living with guilt and shame, the soul cannot heal itself. So you can't be who you're meant to be. And so I love the fact that you said you're now living with integrity. And I have a dark past too, in terms of I was not always living with integrity in terms of my marriage. I was unfaithful early on in my marriage. We write about this in Relationship Grit. If you want to know the whole story, it's all in Relationship Grit. I was not a positive person. I was quite negative, miserable, depressed, down. And when my wife gave me the ultimatum, I had to change. And if I didn't change, I wasn't going to be married. So that ultimatum caused me to look at my life, to make some changes. And that changed everything. And I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for my wife and her strength and her support. But you said you went to jail. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah. Not for that long. I probably should have went for a lot longer based on what I was doing, but thankfully they didn't catch me for the real crimes.
What were you doing?
Well, it's
Is it
incriminating,
public?
but well, I
Is it a
originally
public story?
it kind of so basically when I was younger, I was doing things I shouldn't be doing. We may or may not have been manufacturing fake money for a while, and and we may or may not have been selling illegal items, and we may or may not have gotten caught. so
Okay,
I'll say it like that.
It.
And then the thing
You were the hustler, but just not happy at that point.
exactly before happy hustling, I was just straight hustling, and it's one of those things where you live and learn, and I mean it's just such a better way to live with integrity, to just know that you go to sleep and you're doing right by people, you wake up and you're free, and you can just go serve with that value first mindset. So I love this, Jon, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about your author process, like how you actually write these books, because me being an author, I know it's not easy, but you have put together some amazing books, and it's consistent, and you have a process. And I just want to hear inside the mindset of Jon Gordon when it's time to write a book. What is that process? And for all the aspiring authors out there, what's that process that you recommend?
Just really uncomfortable for me initially, because it's like I'm about to give birth, although I don't know what that's really like, but it's where I feel like, like something is being, is being born, and I've got to put it out there. I've got to create it. I've got to just let it out. And so it's really an uncomfortable feeling, but then I start to put it on paper, and I usually write every morning. I can't get on social media, can't do email when I'm writing. So that's key too. Like I've got to find the space, in the mental space, when I'm not traveling a lot. Usually I write a book in December for that reason. That's when things slow down. And then I'll write every morning, and I'll write for a couple hours. Then I'll go take a walk. I'll practice gratitude. I'll pray. I'll get some new ideas. I come back, I write some more, and then I'm done for the day. Then I'll go do my work, emails, and whatever I have to do, social media. And then from there, phone calls. And then at night, I will edit what I wrote, and I'll make some changes to it or make some tweaks. And then from there, I'll get new ideas as I'm writing. Oh, I should talk about this next and talk about that next. I'll write those ideas down on a piece of paper, like a pad next to me, so that I get up the next morning and now I'm already thinking about what's next. And now I'm writing again. So I write the next morning and do the process over and over again for about 3.5 weeks, at most 4. That's how long it takes to write a book. My wife calls me the mad scientist during this time, but I think that's how I've written 26 books since 2007, 5 children's books.
Yeah.
5 children's books out of that. So I really believe it's because of that process, because I'm willing, because I tune out the distractions. And here's the thing. You have to choose wisely. Like your habits will determine your reality. And consistency is underestimated, because every day just showing up and doing the work is how we produce results. So if you look at my life, and you look at what I get to do, work with the LA Rams, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Miami Heat, speak to all these great teams, all these organizations. I'm going to speak to In-N-Out Burger, all their corporate leaders, Truist Bank, their corporate leaders. Was just with Snapchat and Evan Spiegel and their corporate leaders. We do these leadership programs. I speak on as keynotes. Then we have a team of trainers and consultants that go in and work with these organizations, do workshops and trainings. So you look at all that. It's the result of sitting down in the morning after I just got up and looking at the computer screen and deciding to write, taking that walk, coming back, writing some more, staying off social media. Distractions are the enemy of greatness. And by doing that each day, you then have a book. And as a result of that, they've sold millions of copies that are now read by leaders and young leaders like you, who are now becoming older leaders. And as a result of that, I now get to do this work and get to live this life. But it's because I got up every day and wrote. So I think that's the key message I want to share, is that you got to do the work. You got to be consistent. It doesn't happen overnight, but you do all this with integrity, combined with the work ethic, combined with the hustle, then leads to a lot of happiness. See, I don't believe you should seek happiness. I believe you work with passion and purpose, and happiness will find you. It's a byproduct of hustling. It's a product of doing things the right way. It's a byproduct of living with integrity. It's a byproduct of being consistent. It's having the dedication and the discipline. And the more you do that and focus on that approach, the more you produce great results. So that's how I have 26 books. It's how I've created the success, by doing that process.
Wow. Amazing. I mean, it's discipline, it's focus, it's eliminating the distractions. As you said, distractions are the enemy of greatness. I mean, so powerful, Jon. And I want to respect your time. I do have a couple more short answer questions. I call them the happy hustle hacks, and then a quick rapid fire round. And these are basically different questions in different disciplines. First being health, because I know if you're going to put out, a bunch of books and great content and traveling and speaking, you have to have your health. So do you have a tip, a tool, a tactic in terms of health to, keep your mind sharp and your body optimized?
One, your gut health is everything. It really comes down to gut health. What are you eating? Taking care of your gut. I'm someone who almost died from the flu shot in 2003, 2004. Wow. And ever since, I had autoimmune issues up to about 3-4 years ago. I healed my gut. And once I healed my gut, mental clarity, greater health, everything. So gut health is key. I did a podcast, Positive University is my podcast, with Zach Bush. Check out that podcast in terms of gut health. It's key. I eat a lot of wild salmon. I know you get great wild fish where you are. So I eat a lot of wild salmon, which is a key part of health for me. And I am a relentless, exerciser. I work out, I walk, play basketball, pickleball. And Ed Milet inspired me to start working out and lifting again, because I used to lift and then hadn't lifted in a long time. So then I started lifting about a year ago, and I feel better than ever just lifting and building that muscle. So for me, those are my sort of health fitness tips.
Love it. Amazing. Well, let's talk about money. A happy hustle hack in regards to money. Maybe something you do to save, invest, or spend wisely.
So for money, I'm not frivolous, and I don't spend a lot on extravagant things. So I spend money on the big things that matter, and I don't spend a lot of money on the little things that don't. And so for me, I never got in debt. I was always big on paying things off. And so my wife to this day credits what we have because of my prudence and my discipline in regards to money. So always making sure that you pay off your debt. So, I own my house free and clear, here in Jacksonville, Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. We have a place in LA. We just bought a rental property that we're renting. And my wife has another property. We're looking at commercial real estate, all because of the savings over the years and being prudent and not living beyond our means, but paying things off over time. So that's my hack of just paying things off. And then I've got involved in crypto. Lost a little bit there, but I've also made some good picks. And some of those are actually still even above water, which is good.
Wow.
So I think crypto is the future. I think it's about just making sure you're picking the right picks. Again, integrity, the right companies, the foundation, the infrastructure, and don't invest in crypto, right? And unless you're okay with losing it. I think that's the strategy there.
Yeah. Good call. That was amazing. Great tips, man. And then last one for the happy hustle hacks, spirituality. Do you have a practice that allows you to just get centered and, tap into a higher power, or something that you could recommend to the happy hustlers?
Well, I think it's important to first talk about the fact that there is a higher power to tap into, because whatever your faith tradition is, we all understand the fact that there's a greater power, I truly believe, beyond ourselves. Like, it's why every addiction program believes in a higher power, not religion, but a higher power, because they know your will is not strong enough. You need to tap into something greater. So I believe we should all understand that we need to tap into something greater. Yes. And then I was talking to a young man who's 16 years old, world-class sailor, suicidal, was just in the ER, struggling with anxiety and fear and doubt. And I wrote a book called The Garden. It's a spiritual fable about ways to deal with stress, fear, and anxiety. So I knew what to say to him. But here's what I said, because he was an atheist at the time when we were talking, really doubting God, really not believing in God. Maybe he's an agnostic, but an atheist. And I said to him, hey, are you an accident? And he said, what do you mean? No, I'm not an accident. I said, well, if you don't believe in a God and this is all just evolution, it's just randomness, it's just accidental, that means you're an accident. He goes, no, I'm not an accident. I go, do you believe you have a purpose? He goes, yeah, I have a purpose. I said, well, if this was all randomness and just accidental, then you wouldn't have a purpose. If you're an accident, then why would you have a purpose? And that right there just shifted everything.
Mind blown.
Amazing conversation.
Yeah.
And then from there, no longer suicidal. I also taught him high state of mind, low state of mind, which we don't have time to. But I taught this to some superstar NFL quarterbacks recently. They got it. They're like, man, this is incredible. Next thing you know, they asked me to speak to their coaching staffs, which I did. How to have a high state of mind versus a low state of mind. I'm going to write a new book on this teaching because it's so incredible, but I'm going to do a video soon on it as well.
Oh, cool.
Okay. It's so important. But in terms of, for me, faith changed my life. At 35, 36 years old, I gave my life to God, and I truly surrendered and said, God, your will, not my will. I'm here to serve others. I'm here to make a difference. I'm no longer focusing on my own success, right? Because I was all about me. It became about inspiring, impacting, encouraging others. And my life has never been the same, right? I gave my life to God, surrendered to God, and everything changed. So what do? I pray. Every day I pray, and I surrender, and I trust. So often we're like, God, show me and I'll trust you. God's like, no, trust me and I'll show you. And when you truly trust, you'll see the works and the miracles, but you got to trust. People are often like, but I don't see anything, because you don't really trust. Because if you trusted, you would see the miracle that you just can't explain any other way, right? Wow. Like meeting my wife.
Yeah.
She's walking down the street. Never saw her before. If I'm not on that corner in that moment, I don't see my wife. Well, guess what? She blows me off. But a week later, I'm at the Best of Atlanta charity event, 24 years old, and I see her walking across the room, and I'm like, there she is. I run up to her. What are the odds I would see her again, right? No accident. Now we have our kids. We've been together. We just celebrated 25 years. Come on.
Wow.
Not an accident, right?
Yep.
And so you have to understand, miracles happen when we trust, when we surrender, when we pray, and when we love, serve, and care. And I would say those are my spiritual traditions. I am not a big believer in religion. I'm a big believer that God is a relationship. And it's about having a relationship with the creator of the universe who created you. And the universe means one song, by the way, one song. So we are part of the one song, and there's a creator of the one song. And for me, I follow Jesus. And as a former Buddhist, as a former New Ager, as a former, grew up Jewish, when that happened, everything changed. So I can't deny the power of that in my life. Jesus, to me, and I'll leave it at this, he takes my burden, takes my pain, takes what disconnects me from God, because I am separated from God. And he basically is the force, the power, the system of God that allows that to happen, so I can now connect and become one with God. And in every tradition, there's oneness, right? There's oneness and there's separation. And to me, this is how you achieve oneness. And for me, ever since that's happened, I've experienced the oneness, the intimacy, the power, the purpose moving through me in an amazing way through surrender, through faith and belief and trust.
Wow. Oh, so powerful, man. Amen to all of that. That's amazing. And I'm very spiritual, but not religious, so I can resonate. Quick rapid fire round, 60 seconds, and we'll wrap it up, Jon. This is where I ask you random things and you answer honestly. First thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite food? Go.
Favorite food? Pizza.
Favorite movie?
Rocky.
Favorite book?
So many great ones. So many great ones. A Million Miles in 1,000 Years by Donald Miller.
Oh, I love it. What's your spirit animal? First thing that came to mind.
I love dogs.
I love it. That's
I
awesome.
think it's my spirit animal, but I just love dogs.
Me too. Best business advice.
Best business advice. Love, serve, care. Don't focus on building your business. Focus on loving, serving, and caring, and your business will exponentially build.
So good. 3 things you're most grateful for.
My wife, my kids, and the fact that I get to do this work.
And if you had one billboard for the world to see with your last piece of content on it, what does that billboard read?
It reads, God loves you.
Man, powerful. Jon Gordon, I so appreciate you, brother, for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom with myself and the Happy Hustlers and all your amazing books. Guys, you got to check out The Sale and, all of his books. I
read The Carpenter.
The Carpenter.
I wrote The Carpenter for entrepreneurs. Like I wrote The Carpenter for entrepreneurs. If you read that book, I guarantee.
I've read it. Yeah, it's awesome.
I guarantee you'll love it. And I'd love to hear from you. If you read it, reach out to me. And I promise, if you read The Carpenter and you reach out, I will respond. I promise.
Wow. And so just to that point, what's the best way for everyone to connect with you, follow your work? Give us some links online.
Instagram. So definitely Instagram at Jon Gordon 11, Jon Gordon 11, Twitter at Jon Gordon 11, Facebook. I'm on there as well. I don't know if anyone's even on Facebook anymore. LinkedIn. Funny thing on Instagram, son comes home from college. Last story we could tell here. Yeah. And comes home from college. Hey, Dad, I'm following this guy, Gary V. And he's got 7 million followers, Dad. He's like, how many do you have? And I think he knew how many I had. He was just messing with me. And I'm like 50,000 at the time. And in that moment, I kid you not, I felt like a complete failure. It didn't matter. I sold all these books. I was having this impact work with all these great organizations. I literally felt like a complete failure. Why? I was measuring myself against Gary V.
Yep.
Yeah, I was comparing. I'm like, I literally had this moment. What have I been doing my whole life? Why haven't I been getting more Instagram followers? It was like, that's what I was thinking. And it hit me. Yes, I'm comparing myself. And the only way I found peace was to recognize that I had to live my purpose. And when you compare yourself to someone else and you want their success and you want their life, what that's basically saying is God made a mistake with you. Because you're basically saying, no, I'm supposed to be you. I was supposed to be them. No, you're supposed to be your best you. You're supposed to be who you're meant to be. Tim Tebow and I talked about this on my podcast the other day, had him on, and he taught me this great lesson about this. I want to give him credit on that. It was a great word that he said, like, no, you're not a mistake. You have your purpose, you have your plan, and you have your path. So I think we should end this with knowing, don't compare yourself with anyone else, any other entrepreneur. You be you. You build what you're here to build. You define success on your terms, and you live up to that potential and that fulfillment of God's plan for your life. And guess what? You will be thrilled and happy with your life as a result of that. So don't compare, be and live your purpose. So I did that. After that, I'm not comparing myself to Gary Vee. It can't be him. He's totally different. I'll never be him. All I can do is be my best me. And in that purpose, I found peace in that moment.
Oh, so good. Compare and despair, my friends. Rather, focus on being a better version of yourself each and every day. Jon Gordon, this has been so awesome. Final question. What does happy hustling mean to you?
Wow. Man, it means that you must work like it depends on you, and you pray like it depends on God. That's what it means. Like, you do your best and you let God do the rest. I wrote about that in training camp. I'm a hustler. I believe in hustle. You got to hustle. You got to do the work. Here's what I said on Twitter the other day. I said that I believe God has a plan for your life, but guess what? Your grit and your hustle and hard work is part of that plan. So do your part.
Oh, so good. Jon Gordon, everyone. Mic drop. This was amazing. Thank you again, Jon. This seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And thank you all for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love.
Thanks, Kerry. Woo!